Hello friends, and happy Terrarium Tuesdays. My name is Dean. If you're watching my videos for the first time, please know I only make them for entertainment, education, and for community building in the crypto space. Again, today's video is about Terareum, and Terareum is a sponsor of the Crypto Stacker channel. There are some really cool things happening right now with Terareum, some things that I'm excited about personally. I'm going to share those with you today. Before I jump into that information, let me jump in and show you what's going on with the fundamentals for the last few days. And wait till I show you what's going on with the burn. It's actually pretty wild. So first of all, today is May the 17th. It's been 5 days since I recorded this data, so just know that we're looking at 5 days information here. Current holder count, 9,038, up 9 from the last time I wrote it down. The rank, 359th of all cryptocurrencies. That's based on our market cap and comparing that to CoinGecko's ranking system. Current market cap, 73,640,000. As you can see, ticked up a little bit from last time I wrote the information down. Currently trading at 8015. The volume in the last 24 hours, 41,000. The burn, look at this, has ticked up 300ths. And since I last recorded, almost 25 trillion Terareum coins have burned. So averaging about 5 trillion per day, which is a pretty good average there. 25 trillion. I'd like to have those in my wallet. So overall, things looking fairly stable here for the Terareum project. It did take a price dip with the market here last week. But, in terms of where it's at now, if we looked back at that chart, we would call this over the last 6 of the last 7 days consolidation. And there are some announcements that should be coming, at least that they've announced that they're going to make some announcements that will hopefully put some wind in the sails of the Terareum price and get this moving in a bit more of a positive direction. So let's jump over into Twitter and see exactly what I'm talking about. So this first tweet right here, this one seems pretty like no big deal if you don't have a little more of the backstory. So Milton here today announcing that Terareum will be having a board meeting tomorrow at 9 a.m. and that there's more updates coming shortly. Well, when I read this, it makes me excited for the Terareum team because they told us last week that the office would be completed on Friday. So they've built this new office building and that it would be fully functional on Wednesday. So that would be tomorrow. If they're holding their board meeting tomorrow, they should be holding it in the newly finished, fully functional Terareum headquarters, which is really exciting for me as an investor because as I've been watching what's going on in the crypto market for the last year, which is about the length of time that I've been paying attention to it. I've been making content since September, but Terareum is really the first project that I've seen that's launched in the time frame I've been watching that is actually creating a bricks and mortar office space that they can fill up with people. And for those of us who've been through the COVID crisis, COVID pandemic, I don't know what your experience was, but I had to do some work remotely. We were having people in and out of the office. We were trying all kinds of different strategies to try to keep as many people going as possible without transmitting COVID through all of the workforce. So we did some scaling. We kept everybody employed, but we held out half of the workforce and then we would rotate them in and take the other half out. And it was brutal and quite frankly, not nearly as productive as we were when we were a cohesive team. And so while I think there have been a lot of solutions to help us work remotely, those are great solutions. But in my personal opinion, and maybe I'm old school, nothing beats having the meeting of the minds in person and being able to bounce ideas off of each other and having to compete with people in your workspace for who's rising to the top in terms of productivity and great ideas. So I'm actually really excited about that tweet specifically because that board meeting tomorrow should be in a newly finished, fully functioning corporate headquarters. Very, very cool. The other thing Milton dropped is just a snapshot of the Terareum centralized exchange. So this project initially was a centralized exchange. They actually didn't do a coin or weren't planning on doing a coin till they were already well into development of the Terareum exchange. But we've never actually seen that. Now, there's been a lot of people during my tenure of trying to follow this project and creating content for it that have said the team shouldn't be trusted, that the thing is a scam, and they keep coming forward with more and more evidence of the validity of the company, that it's a real company. I mean, they have a building, 4 stories, bricks and mortar, that they'll be filling with employees starting this week. They have TerraPool, and we've seen a lot of information on that. And here is the very first look at the Terareum exchange, which I think has a nice look to it. This is pretty basic, just basically a Bitcoin graph. You can see there they've got a order tab or order field on the right-hand side. So overall, it looks pretty clean. It'll be interesting to see what the dashboard looks like. That would be the main page when I come into the exchange, what all kind of information is there. And then to see, we have seen just images of a Terareum exchange app for phones too. So it'll be interesting to see what information they bring out regarding this exchange. It is supposed to launch in the 3rd quarter of this year. So we should be getting closer and closer. And of course, if you've watched Awesome Austin's video, which was great, if you haven't seen it, I'll put a link in the description. He did a great job covering Terareum today. But Terareum is the native token for the platform. So those of us who are holding Terareum, that is what gives it its use case. So it's exciting to see some development in this realm here on the centralized exchange. The other thing that I wanted to point out is Dr. Praveen. Dr. Praveen has been very active. He is a senior advisor for the Terareum development team, and he's been very active in writing. And he keeps writing different articles about Terareum. And the articles are good. They're interesting. But what the genius of Dr. Praveen is how he places Terareum in the marketplace. This is the 3rd article that he's had published in the last 2 weeks. This one is with insiderfinance.io and dropped yesterday. So he's talking about Terareum centralized exchange. And he says it's the first big exchange ready to open in these changing times, right? It's been a while since we've seen a new centralized exchange come out. But what he does that's so genius, I mean, he gives a little bit of background on the team. He kind of tells the story of how he started on as an advisor. And then he gets into these 2 questions, right? What is a centralized exchange? What is a decentralized exchange? A lot of people don't understand the difference. But what he does that's so good is he places Terareum in these articles among the giants in the industry. And the plan, as Milton says, he wants to be bigger than crypto.com. He wants to be a top 5 exchange. So here we have Dr. Praveen talking about Terareum, and he's placing it. And this happens in every article that he's written. So I'm starting to see a pattern, but it's genius in my opinion. He's talking about Ethereum. Yeah, I know what Ethereum is. He's talking about Bitcoin. He's talking about Binance. He's talking about Terareum. And so he lumps in Terareum with the giants in the industry. And it just, I think, puts Terareum in a place of legitimacy, right? Which is where we want to see it viewed. We don't want to think of it as a meme coin. Thank goodness it doesn't have Inu in the name, right? It's a breath of fresh air. But Terareum never was designed to be a meme coin. It was actually a centralized exchange project before they ever decided to create a token. So I think the article is great. It's a quick read. At the top of the article, it actually says it's a 4-minute read. I got through it quicker than that, and quite frankly, I'm not that strong of a reader. I will have a link in the description for Dr. Praveen's article right next to where Awesome Austin's link to his video is. If you haven't seen either one of these yet, go give them a look, give it a read. It's great information. Before I close it out today, let me just give you a quick look at what's going on with my reflections. So if you missed my last video, I added another 750 billion to my position. And so currently I'm sitting at 5,756 billion. In the last 5 days, I've received 644 million in reflections coins. Now, I've had questions from people about what website do I go to look at my reflections or where I find that. And realistically, all I do is I just write down the number and then I go right into my Trust wallet, which is where I have this particular position, and I just write down the new number. So if you write this number down, as a matter of fact, when I wrote this one down doing my show prep, it ends 924549, and now I'm 490446. So I've actually ticked up from 508 to 521, 13 million since I started doing my show prep. So it's constantly adding more tokens. Okay, if you're holding your Terarium in a DeFi wallet, you're getting the reflections. If you're in one of the centralized exchanges, you may or may not be getting them based on what the agreement is with that particular exchange. So if you're wondering where your reflections are, it seems pretty subtle unless you're really paying close attention. Just write the number down, give it 15 minutes, refresh your screen, check them again. You should see that you're getting the reflections. Friends, I hope you're having an amazing day. Thank you so much for stopping by and taking the time to watch my video. Please leave comments in the description. If you haven't subscribed, please consider, and appreciate you guys. Have a great day. We'll catch up with you soon. Watch our crypto stacks grow together.